Thank you, everyone, for listening to Soul Talk with host Jeremy McDonald, the author of Peace Be Still. You can check out more about our shows or about Jeremy at soultalkradio.org and jeremymcdonald.net. And now for our show.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for listening to Soul Talk. Tonight we have a wonderful guest who's been on the show before, Dr. Joe Gallenberger. Looking forward to having him on, and he'll be calling in here shortly. Let me just tell you a little bit about what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about Abundance and his new sync creation or hemi-sync CD binaural beats called Abundance Waterfall. So gentle words, binaural beats, subtle nature sounds. A new CD by Joe Gallenberger, Dr. Joe Gallenberger, features a meditation for enhanced flow of abundance in all areas of life. So we're going to bring him on here. He's just called in, and we'll look forward to speaking with him about his latest project and any wisdom that he can give us on helping us have a more abundant life. Hello, Dr. Gallenberger. How are you?
Hi, Jeremy. I'm doing fine. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Doing great.
Good.
Just having a nice, relaxing day, and the weather's starting to cool off here in Florida, so that's a good thing. So how has everything been going? It's been about a year since you were on the show. It looks like you got more projects coming on. And
yes, it's been a very busy, creative year, which is fun. I got a new book coming out in a few weeks, and Abundance Waterfall has been doing well, and it's been out for a few months now.
Nice, very nice. So this this looks like almost a series that we're building here, because we had Liquid Luck that came out, and then Abundance Waterfall. Is it a complement to that, like a more of an advanced type meditation, or just it works on a different area of the brain, or how does that?
They do complement each other, Jeremy, quite well. As you know, Liquid Luck uses imagery of becoming a powerful wizard and developing a potion that you can take anytime you'd like to have a exceptionally lucky day. Abundance Waterfall comes at things a little differently. Most visualization exercises on abundance, you might want something, say a car, and you visualize getting it. This is for you, starts with your acknowledging your general overall abundance that's already flowing to you, and gets you in deep appreciation of that. And then from that place, if you imagine the waterfall turning colors, say gold for money and green for health, or whatever colors you'd like, symbolizing relationship or spiritual growth or whatever you would like more of, you just see that part of the waterfall expanding. And we've had real nice reports of that working. I think one of the reasons it does is because like attracts like, so it's hard to manifest something if you're feeling lack. So it's, let's say, pretty logical to first, before you go into what you would like, to really appreciate what you already have. And all of us have a lot of abundance we usually forget about. The abundance of pets in our lives that have graced us, books that we've read, hopefully health, beauty of nature, many different things we can appreciate. And so when we're in that state of appreciation, then it's much easier to just say, okay, that's my Sunday, and on the cherry on top of the Sunday might be this new thing that I would like to have as an increase of abundance.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting how I think our minds are programmed to not be in that appreciation, and when we start switching that, then everything becomes a lot more, enthusiastic, I guess would be a good word to use, where we're enjoying.
We're in kind of a culture of lack, there's a lot of commercials trying to sell us something, and what we see on the news and things, that we can forget how good we have it just by having a body and being alive. So bringing that back into mind brings us into good perspective, and coincidentally, it's real helpful if you want to create more abundance to acknowledge what you already got going.
Yeah. I was actually reading about a week ago a part of Inner Vegas, and I just wanted to bring this up because I was thinking about that.
Sure.
There was a story that you were talking about where you were talking about a group of people going out and playing. I can't remember the game, but there's a part where I guess if you roll a 7 at the wrong time, then it not only loses your bet, but potentially loses everybody else's bet, or something along those lines. And you were talking about the thought process that goes into that, and how you might have thoughts about people worrying that they're going to get a 7 at the wrong time and then losing everybody else's, and that brings a greater chance of bringing this into the possibility. But if you come into it with a positive attitude and an open heart, and with no fear, the group, it seems like you were talking about, then we stand a stronger chance of psychokinesis working in this moment and really creating an abundance for them, or a good flow, I guess would be a good word for it.
Yeah, so that
I just thought that was
is what we do there. The main energy we use is an open heart and love, and the challenge to that can be going into ego or fear. And so we do a lot to get ourselves into a state where we're very appreciative, grateful, feeling very good with heart open, because that is a great antidote to that feelings that might come in about performance anxiety, or I'm going to mess up here. And it's useful as a training device, but it's also very useful in life to develop a real good skill at being able to gentle any fears and move into remembering why in your passion you're wanting to create what you're wanting to create, and staying in a good positive space about it coming into your life. That tends to be very powerful in terms of bringing it into your life.
Well, that's what the description here of Abundance Waterfall even says: encourages you to relax, open your heart, and experience your own abundance waterfall. And I imagine, reducing fear, bringing you into that state of appreciation, that kind of stuff. So that's here we got it right here, a CD that helps, train your mind to go into that appreciation state. And,
yes, because it's not really useful to say to somebody, "Don't be afraid." That usually means, is there something I'm supposed to be afraid of? And so in this exercise, as well as others that I do, rather than attack fear directly, we bypass it by moving into a wide open heart space and by focusing on the positive things that are going on. Both of these exercises, I guess what they have in common is I was trying to find a way to take a couple decades of experience with teaching manifestation, doing Inner Vegas adventure workshops, and how do you distill that down into a form that people could get very easily and be able to experience results in a half hour, let's say. So that was the rationale behind both of those projects. And the nice thing is it's worked very well to give people a great taste of what it would be like to be without fear for a little bit, and how powerful that could be in their life.
Right. Wow. Good stuff. So this is out, and then we've got a new book coming out in. I'd heard that was coming out, but I don't know what the name of it is or what it's about. Can you talk a little bit about that? Sure, I can
let you know. It's called Liquid Luck: The Good Fortune Handbook. And what happened after I released Liquid Luck, it's been out about a year, is stories began flooding in within hours of people's success with it in all kinds of areas, from money creation, relationships, getting over problems at work, manifesting all kinds of interesting creative projects and things like that. So I began to collect the stories, and as dozens of them came in, thought it would be good to do a book with people's own words about how it worked and how they used it, and also then expand on the principles of liquid luck, which, if you remember, are really to generate energies of gratitude, abundance, praise, compassion, love, and feelings of good fortune. And so the book goes through why those are important and has exercises on each of those to increase them in your life and things like that. So it will complement Liquid Luck and Abundance Waterfall really well in terms of giving people a little more explanation than they would do in a meditation, but by reading about it, they can even further understand why it's working.
So this will actually bring in the stories? Is that what I'm understanding correctly? Or
yes. So we have each chapter starts with a story of somebody's success with Liquid Luck, and then there's a whole chapter, because they wouldn't all fit on at the beginning, of experiences. And it's fascinating to see people used it to find a four-leaf clover after looking for 70 years. A fellow in Australia wrote he really wanted a new iPad, and there he couldn't get it. It was sold out. This is right when it came out. And using Liquid Luck, he just knew he'd win the contest that his business had for one, and in fact did. Folks getting free tuition to courses to retrain when they were on disability, plus winning their court case in disability. And have a friend who's an inventor, makes stereo equipment out in California, and he's brilliant. He's in his 70s, I think, now. Been doing this for 40 years, but business was kind of slow, and he listened to Liquid Luck. Business took off, but also he got ideas for all kinds of new inventions that are now in production. So both Liquid Luck and Abundance Waterfall, often people, I thought they'd listen to it when they want to manifest something, but they're also listening to it just because it makes them feel so good in the day. So many are listening to it each day, and that's because it brings in, awareness of all these high energies that we're mentioning, which is a great way to start the day, feeling gratitude, feeling abundant, feeling loving, feeling compassionate, those kind of things. So all of these things are designed to be complementary, and they're based in that science area which I explored called psychokinesis, and explore further in the Vegas Adventure Workshops. So it's all tying together in just different ways for people to be able to access this with various levels of commitment and different kind of learning styles, if you will.
That's awesome. I have actually, I hadn't pulled mine out in a while, and probably about a month ago I was going through a lot of stress, and I just happened to open up my chest that has all my CDs in it, and I looked in there, I was like, oh, Liquid Luck. And so I put it in the player and put my headphones on, and it was one day when the stress just got to be pretty overwhelming, and I just sat there, and it relaxed me and kind of got me back into that state of flow, and balance.
Wonderful.
So I've had just my own experiences with it. We actually have a caller, so I'm gonna bring them on the line really quick. And
okay, sure.
Just one second. Hello.
Hi.
From a 630 area code. How are you?
Hey, I'm okay. Yeah, so I saw your thing, and I thought it was interesting.
Wonderful. And did you have a question for Dr. Gallenberger?
Yeah, I don't know, I just had a lot of things going on, looking for a job and moving, and just a lot of stress. So sometimes I feel like I'm just pretty much overwhelmed, and like nothing's going to get better, and when am I going to find my job? And I don't know how to kind of sometimes handle it all.
Yes, that can be really challenging, can it? especially when we have something, that's important to how we're making a living and how we're, quote, surviving on the planet. These kinds of things we're talking about tonight can be very helpful, like Jeremy's saying, first off, just to help you chill out and relax and regather a positive attitude, and then to begin to visualize what you'd like to create, and remember, to have the patience and whatever, so that the best thing can come to you at the best time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes, why is it that it just seems like it's, I don't know, like it's taking a while and everything, because it's just the way it's supposed to be, I guess, and you have to be patient with the process instead of thinking, oh, I'll never get a job or something like that, which is totally ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Well, it can
work.
be that it's taking the proper amount of time, but it's very natural and normal when you're don't have a job to become a little bit fearful and a little anxious, and that can slow the process down. And so that's
because sometimes it's taking more than a year. It's really, really hard. It's not like it's just a month or two. It's taking a long time, it seems.
Yes.
And
the other thing, believe it or not, we look at is, are you really applying for what you want to do? That may sound kind of a stupid thing to say, but for example, I had a fella who wasn't having any luck getting a job, and we asked him, well, what would he really like? And he said, well, I'd like a job about 2 months a year in pretty weather outside. And we said, well, why don't you, begin to focus energy on that in visualization, which he did. And he got a call quite quickly, I think it was 2 weeks, from somebody he knew in high school. And they sold him his business, which was an advertising boat on the eastern shore of the U.S. And at the end of the year, he had 3 boats and a Lexus, and he was working a 2-month year. The problem is for most people, job equals hard, unpleasant work, and they don't even have in their concept the possibility of earning an income in 2 months a year. And so you want to make sure what you're looking for really makes your heart sing. And sometimes that's hard. You can say, well, gee, that's not practical. I just got to get some money here. But if you can start with really what you'd really love to do, what would be your passion, how would you help the world, those kind of questions, it may lead you to look for different kinds of jobs than you've been looking for. I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. It could be a possibility. Because I can actually afford to be at lower levels, and I find that every time I'm on an interview at higher levels, I'm getting really nervous because I realize I just can't do that at my age anymore, and I can't take on that added stress and responsibility and solving huge problems. I just can't do it, health-wise, everything.
Yeah, so it's almost like part of you doesn't want them to offer you the job. You'd have to take it for finances, but it really doesn't serve your spirit.
I don't really have to. I don't really have to for finances. That I could take a lower level at this point in my life.
So maybe
I'm
begin.
Thinking,
yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking that I didn't know when I went on the interview, but on the second interview I got real disappointed because it didn't work out. And I felt like I found out more about the company, and I just knew this would not be good for me at all, and I can't go into a job like that. Yeah. So I'm trying to, I think, you're kind of right. Maybe I'm having, administrative assistant, a couple calls, but my level was higher, but I'm redoing my resume and kind of looking at that and thinking of customer service rep more, things at a lower level that won't be as stressful as making those bigger decisions.
Well, that'd be terrific if you can, that you're in a situation that you could take a job with less stress and not have to worry about, earning the absolute last dollar that you could.
Right.
And that
because it won't work out. It won't work out. It didn't work out for me. I tried it, and it didn't work the last few years that way. So I think that, but how do you stay positive, you'll finally get a job offer? You know what I mean? I don't know. That's good. Just know that it will come to you at the right time, and as you keep on looking and kind of making your job search more and more applicable to what you think you can do.
Yes. No, I would engage in some things. First would be very, very good self-care. so that you're, getting great diet, great exercise,
right,
exposed to beauty, perhaps even volunteer your time somewhere so you feel useful and you see that you have impact, those kind of things. So it's not just as passive as, visualizing and then wishing and hoping.
No.
Yeah, but those kind of things, having that, I have a phrase, patience sweetens passion, and I need it a lot because I'm an impatient guy.
But it's taking people like a lot of times more than 2-3 months,
Yes, it is. It is at this time.
It takes people, it seems, up to a year or something like that.
It can, sure. And
yeah, well, working part-time is important, and I know that too, and those kind of things, and then devoting part of your day to your job search and all that kind of stuff.
Good. It sounds like you have some good skills, just getting a little discouraged, and you might re-energize it by something like Abundance Waterfall, other techniques like that, just that naturally raise energy or enjoyable, and say,
But how you hear about people that never get a job or something? I mean, it's that's why I go to that extreme, thinking, oh my God, well, what if that happens to me? But, I'm a little older or something like that.
Yeah, I would look at that, as a fear form, and to know that, I guess it's possible, but it's most likely that that something will come. It sounds like you have.
Well, yeah, because if you have a good skill set, you should get a job.
Yeah,
I mean, this one lady I talked to, she said she didn't want to go to this level, and once you start talking to those people, you find out why. Oh, I don't like the hours. I don't like that level. You know what I mean? They actually have a reason why they won't go to a certain level. They won't do different things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and what might also be helpful for you is you want to sit and just, because our mind can be I've been there where I was out of work or didn't have an income coming in for a couple of years, and so when you're in that state, your mind is
for a couple years.
So fast.
For a couple
of years. Yeah.
How did you deal with it?
It wasn't easy. And what I learned is that was the time where I learned to really quiet my mind and know that I was taken care of, and so then I had to rethink about what I was going to do. And so I fortunately had family to take care of me and help me through that time frame. But it was I understand where you're at, and so what I'm getting at is that it's important that your mind is working super, super fast on getting a job or a means to support yourself, and that's what's important is to relax your mind, and so that you can go into that state of appreciation of what you do have. Right now, I think that's one of the things.
Well, I'm not that
desperate.
I don't need to find something today or tomorrow either. I'm not in a situation like that either. That it has to be like that. It's just that I'm getting impatient.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I understand.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
So that's great that you finally found something that you like, hopefully, right?
Absolutely, I did. Well, thank you so much for calling in, and we do appreciate your time.
Yeah, we hope we were helpful tonight, and we wish you the best with your search. And I can't say I hope it comes quickly. I have to say I hope the perfect thing comes at the perfect time.
Oh, my God, that is so positive, and I'm going to start having that attitude. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Bye-bye.
I'm going to put my dog outside, Jeremy. He's going kind of barking in the background there. I don't know if you could hear him.
Oh, was it him barking?
Yes.
I thought I heard it. Yeah. Mine, he got really quiet and went and laid in the other room. He didn't want to lay in the studio with me tonight.
I now understand what the excitement is. Her sister lives next door, and she's been gone for about 10 days, and now they're both out there wagging their tails together. They like to play together, and I'm sure my dog has missed her sister for that 10 days. So now they're together again.
There you go. So what next after these two projects? I mean, you're going to be. I know for a while there you were going to Switzerland at least once a year.
Yes, for a workshop. But right now, I guess I have a Vegas adventure that's full with waiting list in October, have another one coming up in February that's open for enrollment. My wife and I are going to take a nice vacation trip to Hawaii in December to practice what I preach about abundance. And so we were able to score free first-class tickets with Delta Miles, which is nice. And so we're looking forward to that. And I'll probably take a little bit of rest since I've put out 2 books in about a year. But eventually I do want to update a book I wrote almost 20 years ago called Brothers Forever, after my brother committed suicide, because, in fact, much of what I do in this abundance area was stimulated by the events with him, because here he was a very good man, responsible, handsome, honest, hardworking, and he couldn't get work because he just didn't feel deserving. So that started me on the journeys I've been following in this area for the last 20 years. So I'd like to update the book about how the whole process has gone for him on the other side, as well as what's happened for me on this side since he left us. So that'll probably be this spring, and so as best I can tell, I'll stay busy.
There you go. Well, and just so you know, there is a great casino in the Tampa Bay area, just if you want to enter Vegas.
Okay.
If you want to do an Inner Vegas workshop down here.
I'll tell you, because we get tables reserved just for us and a bunch of other things, great ideal meeting rooms to visit and meditate in quiet before we go down to the casino. It's really helpful that I have the relationships I have with casino out in Vegas. That's why I usually stay out there. But I'm always open for adventures, so I never say never.
Yeah. I just thought I'd just suggest it, because we do have a really nice one that the Seminoles built here in Tampa.
Uh-huh.
So I think the last time we talked, you were on the show, when Liquid Luck came out, you were on Coast to Coast, and people got so excited and so moved by what you were saying that I believe, didn't it bring it overwhelmed the Coast to Coast server? Is that what happened?
Yeah, best I can tell, I know our website went down, and I think I've been on Coast to Coast now 3 times in the last year. First time I think we got something like 5,000 emails in a couple of days. And the last one on Liquid Luck, I know there was about 1,500 on the first day. So we've revised our web capabilities and things to be a little more ready for what can happen when you get on that show. And hopefully we'll be on there again with the new Liquid Luck handbook.
Nice. Very cool. So one of the things I wanted to touch on a little bit, because I was really just pondering the story about the Vegas adventure and about the what we're talking about with an open heart and stuff, and is kind of like I guess what I would refer to as a group consciousness, which is kind of like what you're talking about when you're saying sevening out in the game. And I found that when we get surrounded by certain people, our vibration can be, high, but, people can be in people that we love, our family members, our uncles, our grandmas, and our mom and dad, whatever, our lovers, our husbands, wives, they could be in a positive space. Do you think that their energy or their thoughts could affect the group? Obviously, they're co-creating with us at the same time. And they're helping co-create this reality. So I've actually been finding, and I had to clean this out of, not necessarily clean, but I had to change my thought process where I was even allowing other people's, the way they were, affect how my abundant life was going, and finding myself in a situation where I had been very, very abundant, and then now I was in this situation of not so abundant, that I wasn't in that flow state. And so great lesson for me, but I was just thinking about how would somebody change that in the middle of that? I mean, I made a decision to just end that relationship.
Sure.
But
well,
I mean,
it's a excellent question. I can't remember if we have an hour or a half hour.
We have an hour.
Okay. So let me approach this carefully. From my point of view, we're designed as creatures to get energy in unlimited supply directly from source, if you want to use the word God or whatever word you'd put in there. And but that often gets cut off by our thinking. And when that happens, we become energy starved because we're high energy beings. And then when that happens, we tend to look for energy to other people, and we can do that by being the good boy or the good girl or the bad boy or the bad girl or the rescuer, many different roles. But the energy isn't as of high a quality, and it allows people to manipulate us. So in my home study course, Sync Creation, and the workshops we do, all of it is leading a person toward a connection with that high, fine, pure energy of source that is our birthright. I do even have a CD called Partners Meditation, where you go through, in meditative state, your relationship with mother, father, boyfriend, girlfriend, children, bosses, and you see that relationship in its highest and finest. You see what the contracts are in that relationship, change those if you want, and it's designed to get us into a much more positive space with the people in our life that we can. Some people are just so toxic you just have to avoid them, but even in that case, usually it's good to at least once in deep meditation clean up past attachments. Some of the stickiest things is if we feel victimized by that person and we're still trying to prove ourselves right in that person's eyes, those kind of things. But I agree with you. Other people, we're social creatures. Their energy is very important, but we don't have to be passive victims. We can get much more energy directly from source. So then if they relate to us, we're relating from a place of abundance and preference that we like and enjoy them, and they like and enjoy us, but we don't feel so needy. Does that make sense?
It does, and it's kind of so. We're really just becoming grateful, or we're getting a sense of gratitude for the people in our lives, even the ones that I'm assuming, even the ones that are toxic, so toxic. Yeah. We have. Because that came with lessons or, an awareness or whatever, and then we're changing our vibration.
Yeah, we can use the phrase I like is you can make everybody either your lover or your teacher. So there doesn't have to be any enemies.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I've actually been using the Ho'oponopono prayer, the Hawaiian.
Yes.
And so that's been very helpful for me. And it's interesting too, because the reason I brought this question up, I thought it was really appropriate for this show, is that even the ones that teach this or have found a level of peace, that we have lessons that come into us that we have to remind ourselves, or we get stronger in it, I guess would be a better way to look at it. So it's interesting. It's very interesting.
Yeah, if you operate from a place of open-hearted compassion toward yourself as well as others, and this kind of abundance yoga, if you will, even things that most times are still very painful will be handled differently. An example I use is I had a very beloved cat, and he was sitting outside the screen porch, and a couple dogs from the neighborhood came up and savaged the cat in front of my eyes, so she died in my arms. And when I went looking for the owner, first thing I did, I'd never met this guy, so I gave him a hug and then said, we have something soulful to talk about. And we had a good conversation about controlling his animals, and he was very good about it. The old me would have, gone into victim vengeance, anger, retribution, all kinds of things. So again, while the event was sad, it didn't affect me like it would have 30 years ago.
Right. Yeah, you did what you needed to do. You spoke. You told him what you needed to say, but you did it with love, which is really very powerful and an open heart. Just before I just want to let everybody know that's listening before we move on. Dr. Gallenberger's website is Sync Creation, so SYNC, and then creation.com. And on here you'll find his blog, his products, things that he works on. There is also a group of articles. If you go down to the bottom, says previous articles. One of my favorite ones is called the Manifestation Tree, I believe.
Abundance Tree.
Yeah, the Abundance Tree. So, and I've actually used that one quite a bit. So, it's all on his website. So again, it's synccreations.com. So I just wanted to let everybody know that. So I mean, because I've been using some of.
I'm going to mention there is no, it's not plural, so it's synccreation.com. But also, if you just Google Liquid Luck or Abundance Waterfall, all that stuff will come out too.
Absolutely. Wonderful. So, yeah, I just want to make sure everybody knows that because I've actually used some of these suggestions you've made in your blogs and stuff like that, and it's very helpful. So
Great.
It's something that people can really think about. So when we're looking at this, I mean, we're looking at all these things. We've got these two very powerful tools. We got Abundance Waterfall, we got Liquid Luck, and we've got your book, The Inner Vegas Adventure, So really, this is a process of, your 20-year experience with this, but this is a process of healing, and changing your mindset into that positive mindset. So you're really creating tools to help people, do that, and heal their mind and their thought process, their feelings, and how they're seeing their world.
Yeah, it's a shift in consciousness, and I think that's quite needed now because the culture is very fearful, and we're at a critical point on many things. My hope is that not only individually, but that people will begin to feel these things deeply enough that it affects their communities and their countries. And in fact, we're seeing some of that happen, which is really inspiring, where people used to come and say, Joe helped me manifest a car. Now a lot of people are coming and saying, I'd like to know how to apply these principles to benefit my family, my community, and perhaps the larger world. That's really exciting because, we can tip it. The old nothing to fear but fear itself is quite true. My way of phrasing that I have on my wall is fear is expensive, love is priceless, choose wisely. And it's on the wall because that's another phrase I have to look at once in a while, remind myself of. But if we're in a position of more loving toward ourselves and others, and enough people get to that position, I don't think there's any limits to what human beings could do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important, too, when you're mentioning that, you're saying, love and fear is costly. It's interesting because we have the tendency to beat ourselves up. And,
sure.
We can make a mistake, and then our fear beats us up.
Mm-hmm.
And then that can bring us into a lack feeling. Let's say the lady that called in earlier, she let's say she was late for an interview, and then she could beat herself up over that, and instead of going into a love state, you could say, well, I got here at the right perfect time, or something came up, something along those lines, and be in a state of appreciation.
No, I guess we're talking a lot about different affirmations tonight. I guess another one that I find useful is even though I X, and you could put in, I really screwed up today. You could put in whatever you wanted for the X. I still completely love and accept myself. And so it's a good way to finish the day, and it's good to use after we do feel we've messed up. so we get away from that beating yourself up, as you call it, because I agree with you totally. That's just totally unconstructive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I experienced that, I guess, about a month ago when I missed a show with you and I. So I'm bringing that up because I started to go into a fear state and felt bad and then I started, when I got the call with you, I said, no, this is perfect. And I still love myself. Let's just go with it from here.
Good. Well, I'm glad you didn't spend too much time on it. It was perhaps tonight is the ideal night instead. And as I recall, you had something pretty soulful to deal with yourself that night. So
yeah, definitely. And everything always happens and I think that's important to bring up because how many people out there are going through those experiences and how fast are you going to catch it and go and switch from fear to love. Yeah.
So I'm going to give you an example, if it's okay then, about how Abundance Waterfall might work in that situation. My brother John died. He had sort of an ALS-type disease this April, and we were pretty concerned because he was on a ventilator tube and feeding tube that his death would be a struggle to breathe. And instead, my wife and I and his wife held him, and as his spirit left, and it was very beautiful and soulful. But part of it was the day after the funeral, I had to fly to Vegas from my home in North Carolina and do a workshop. And I was concerned about my energy. And turned out I gave a real good workshop by people's description, and so I was very happy with that. So I sat at a slot machine after the workshop was over, and I thought of my Abundance Waterfall and just imagined it flowing all around me, and put my money in the slot machine and very quickly got a royal flush in clubs, which is $160,000 to win by chance, and I think it paid about $4,100. I went up and told my wife. She had already gone to bed, and then came back down, and the next slot machine I approached won another jackpot on the third pull and the identical jackpot on the fifth pull. Finally, I went to bed because I was finally tired, got up the next morning and won another jackpot. So I thought, hey, this Abundance Waterfall works pretty well. Casinos are fun because you can measure it so easily, versus the woman calling for a job. It may not be in minutes, it might be longer than that. But casinos give you very fast feedback.
Absolutely. I'm going to have to get the Abundance Waterfall and now go out to the casino in Tampa.
Sure, have some fun with it.
Absolutely. Well, that's kind of what it's all about, is having fun.
Yeah.
And so I've been actually doing the old checks in the mail recently over the past couple months, and it started off with a $7 check in the mail, and now I've got a $400 check in the mail, and then it's like just to see what would happen, and then of course you get excited. You don't get upset if the check doesn't come, you just see if it does, and it's pretty cool. A lot of stories that we can tell, and the affirmations. The affirmations just start to change our mind, our process, our thought process.
Yes, and they can also point to places of resistance. So if you say, I deserve all abundance now, and part of you goes, who you? You're not, you should be feeling guilty about something you did, or who you're not talented enough, or whatever it is. Then you can begin to, with great love, look at those areas of where you may be holding resistance to all the abundance that the universe would like to give you.
Right. Because then it gives you an opportunity to become more self-aware.
Yeah.
And heal that area, or open it up. Learn another area to open your heart up more. So, and that's the key thing, and the message that you teach is about the heart, and being in that love state, and that's throughout all of your material and the things that you're teaching. As far as I've read or seen, is that you get into your heart and you open your heart up and you're in that love state, you're naturally going to attract or create that abundant life. So now I haven't experienced Abundance Waterfall yet, but it's I'm assuming that's along the same lines. So.
Yeah, and so, since that's so important, we might want to focus on it a minute. It's pretty easy for people to open their heart if they saw a video of kittens being born or soldiers returning home from war and being reunited with their family. But hearts in that situation tend to stay open about, 15, 20 minutes. And the challenge would be to live from a heart-open place on a consistent basis, and we looked at that quite a bit. And there is technologies, one called Heart Math, to give you biofeedback about whether your heart is coherent and open. And there's exercises like we're mentioning, Liquid Luck, Abundance Waterfall would do that. But one of the things I find most important is that kind of heart opening is like a cut flower, watching a show and then 20 minutes later it starts to fade. If you want to be having it more like a living plant where your heart stays open on a more continuous basis, then it's important to do a few things, mainly to ground very strongly to this planet Earth where you are now and be in that present moment, and also ground to your spirit. And so if you connect really strongly and put to both of those, there are energy sources for that strong heart flow to keep flowing. And it makes a world of difference. So rather than a temporary state, it becomes a state that's your set point. You could lose it for a while when crazy things happen, but you end up going back to it quite quickly, and you get used to that's where you live. And living from a wide open heart place is really living from a place where miracles can occur quite easily.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. I was even thinking about pondering the times when we, first fall in love, and you're in that state of, almost being a kid, a teenager, or the young love, and your heart is wide open about the possibilities. So then you're into what the quantum physicists talk about, with the open, the realm of possibilities instead of the whatever's in our focal point. And so but that can change. 2 years down the line or 5 years down the line, you're married, and there's a fight happening, and you forgot about the open-heartedness that happened 5 years ago, and so it's interesting.
And it does change. Puppy love or first in love is very neurochemical, but that feeling of I can do anything, and I notice all the beauty around me, and I'm in a great mood. Those kind of things can be maintained pretty strongly. Helps to be with the right person. I know with my wife was really struck when we first had a dispute. She turned to me and said, "You're right." And I was kind of surprised to hear that. I was usually used to in arguments, everybody tries to defend their point of view. And then it made it easier for me to say, you're right when she's right, which is quite often. So getting those relationships on a healthier basis, it's amazing how much of that early love feeling you might be able to keep.
Yeah. I had a situation experience about 2 years ago now with a family member, and they were upset, and it was causing kind of a heated discussion. And finally, probably after about an hour, I just got really quiet and just started listening and opening up my heart and getting into my heart and thinking about things that I loved and really paying attention but not saying anything. And it took probably about a half hour, and my family member just started crying. And really what they needed to do was just to express how they felt. Mm-hmm. The more and more I tried to defend whatever situation I was going to express how I felt, the more and more animated it became. And so, it literally at this point I had to just step back and look. And really it made me love my family member that much more. And so It also taught me a great lesson about being quiet.
Yes, and women sometimes get frustrated with men in that we tend to want to, as men, jump in and fix it really quickly, versus forgetting that the power of actually letting somebody be heard and speak their truth, letting them go first allows the thing to move from unconstructive to constructive. At some point there may be some time needed to talk about solution, but that's after the person really feels heard.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it just festers. It's like almost like poison festers poison, or toxic poison. Maybe those are bad choice of words, but it's just listen. I think there's an old saying out there, and I can't remember what it was, that you got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
Yeah.
I don't know where I heard that. Maybe it was just my grandmother that told me that. I don't know. So, well, we're down to our last.
We're in a kind of a talking society. Television talks at us in very quick sound bites and visual pictures, and doesn't give us any opportunity to talk back. It's strange now. We're that art of just deeply listening. I was reading a book called Amused to Death about the change in media from oral traditions to printed word to where we are now in kind of an entertainment generation. And he was talking about the Lincoln-Douglas debates. People would be sitting there and listening for 7 hours straight as they went through and expected to follow that and could. Nowadays, it's hard to feel like you have enough time to pay attention to a tweet, and so listening to yourself, and as I mentioned for the caller, what would you really like to be doing? What would make your heart sing? Asking those kind of questions are very powerful for manifestation. Some of us never ask that. Some of us just go with what other people have told us we need to do. We need to make a lot of money to do so-and-so or what have you. And so listening to yourself is, a good first step to identify what your real, genuine dreams are, and you're going to have a lot more success manifesting them than dreams somebody else put in your head and, you've kind of swallowed without looking at.
Yeah, we think that, and that's we think we want to do this because we've seen it, or we think that's happy, and then this is what really resonates with us. There's a story about a man that he was a postal worker, and he did the routes, and he handed out the mail, and he was really stressed in that job, and he finally one day became the janitor within the local post office, and he made the same amount of money. And the difference is that he got to sing and listen to his headphones and music, and got to be done, and sleep during the day and have the evening with his family before he went into work. Mm-hmm. So some people, thought that was he had taken a lesser position, and he said, don't have stress. I didn't lose any money. I get to listen to my music and sing all night. I think I get to spend more quality time in a non-stress state with my family, because I think I found heaven.
Yeah. So you accept your own definition of success, your own heart's wisdom about what that would be like, and not what somebody else might think. There's we talk about golden handcuffs. People that are in jobs that are kind of killing their spirit, maybe setting them up for cancer or heart attack, but they feel they can't get out of it because it pays so well. And there are copper handcuffs, tin can handcuffs, silver handcuffs, depending on what level a person's at. To be, always being in touch with, I accept myself as my most honored guest in my own heart, and treasuring yourself, you'll be better for you, your family, and the world. And you'll find yourself in a position of more abundance flow, because the universe will support that. That's, you're in line with the flow of what your spirit would like. If you're bucking against that, it's really, swimming upstream.
Yeah. Well, that's very much like the lady that called in earlier. I think she's very self-aware, and I really commend her for this. She was talking about, she realized that she doesn't want to do that higher position because she doesn't want the stress even for her own health. And I commend her because she's really become authentic with herself. And not a lot of people would take that higher job just because they felt like they needed it. But she even said, "I don't need the money." It's not a desperate thing. She's just getting frustrated, and I thought that was quite commendable because she really knows what she wants, and so now she's just bringing it in. So
yes, and I would wish nobody the stress of having not to be out of work, but even a couple months out of work does often teach people what their priorities really are, and that they don't need as much money as they thought they did, and they are still surviving, and they hopefully find things that are meaningful and can be happy. Then work becomes more of a preference than a need, and with that, it's more likely that something good will be manifested.
Yeah, for her, very soon. So we're down to our last 4 minutes. What did you want to talk about, or let people know about before we wrap up the show?
Well, again, love to have them go to the website. As you mentioned, there's lots of articles and tips for manifesting, energy healing, psychokinesis. I think quite a bit of interesting information. And the Abundance Waterfall, Liquid Luck, those kind of things are under $20 to try something like this, which is nice. So going to innervegas.com, syncreation.com, or just Googling Abundance Waterfall or Liquid Luck, it'll get you there. And I guess my main message is that I'm trying to get across is that we're miracle workers living in a miraculous world. And we can indeed shape our personal futures and the world's welfare. Sometimes we forget about the miracle. If I describe to Jeremy, hey, there's a symphony orchestra with 50 trillion members with billions of new members every day, and yet it plays this beautiful song without error, you'd say that's pretty miraculous. Well, that's our bodies. We have 50 trillion cells, billions replaced each day, and we sing the song of life. So to be aware that we're in miracle space is very powerful. Then anything else we'd like to create is just more normal, if you will. So we can clear our limiting beliefs, raise our heart's energy, and then we can focus it for healing and manifesting. And I think that's a great message to counter some of the message of lack and fear that we have in our culture right now. And so I hope all of these things and many other teachers as well are helping us create a more abundant and compassionate world, because we're the X point between heaven and earth, if you will, and we can bring a lot more of the heavenly stuff here if we'd like.
Wonderful. Well, Dr. Gallenberger, it's always a pleasure, and for having you on the show. And again, syncreation.com or liquidluck.com, and that's also down in the description of the show, the website as well. So thank you all for listening, and Dr. Gallenberger, I hope to have you on with the coming out of the new book soon. So
sounds great, Jeremy.
Have a wonderful evening.
You too. Thanks for having me on.
Wonderful. Good night.
Good night.
And good night to everybody else.